ChatGPT is passing the tests required for medical licenses and business degrees. I don't know if you saw this or not. Pull up a little bit so we can kind of cover this. So the viral chatbot that has raised concerns from teachers and academics over its ability to cheat on essays and exam has now passed a Wharton MBA final exam, the United States medical licensing exam, and components of the bar exam. And this thing's only been around since November, by the way. A Wharton professor conducted a study in which he used OpenAI GPT-3, the language model on which it is built on, to take a final exam of a core MBA course. He concluded that GPT-3 would have received a B to B minus on the exam. The professor, Christian Terwish, founded that GPT-3 performed the best at basic operations management and processing analysis questions. For these, the chatbot provided both correct answers and excellent explanation as to why an answer was selected. In the paper summary, teacher acknowledged that GPT-3 is by no means perfect. At times, the bot made mistakes in simple mathematical calculations and wasn't able to handle more advanced process analysis questions. The study further fueled the conversation that academics are now having as a result of GPT advanced writing skills regarding exam policies, et cetera, et cetera. So some professors are extremely concerned. Some are worried. Some are saying this could question the existing business model, teaching model, universities. How concerned are you? How excited are you? How little do you care about this?
I don't think anybody is worried enough. I think the hazard of what we're facing is almost beyond what we can imagine. And that is, I'm saying that even though I know what you have to focus on if you want to comfort yourself that this isn't so terrible. You can focus on the fact that this model has no capacity to be conscious, right? It's simulating meaning without knowing what it's saying. But I don't know how long that lasts. I do know that this is a pretty good spot check of where we are in the trajectory that results in general artificial intelligence. And I don't think we are remotely ready for what's coming. And I will point to the most obvious of these problems is already critical, and you're hinting at it in what you're reading here. But the fact that it is going to become extremely difficult to assess actual competence it should alarm us at the highest level, right? To have the possibility, you could have a conference of people all consulting whatever descendant of ChatGPT happens to be available at the time and talking to each other as if they know what they're talking about. We've already got a problem with our experts who don't mostly seem to know what they're talking about. This is going to be, 100 times as bad in a world where they can be consulting something that sounds very knowledgeable and may in fact be completely on the wrong track, which I would point out is another argument, and maybe even a much stronger argument, for including real-world physical interactions in which you do not have to assess whether or not somebody knows what they're doing. They either fixed your engine or they didn't, right? It either runs or it doesn't. Those kinds of things are not going to be easily faked, though even they, right? A mechanic who does not know what he's doing but is able to consult this device in order to figure out what is likely causing a problem is going to become less and less capable. So I don't know what we're supposed to do about it, but I do know we're not ready. We're not ready, and the rate at which this is going to get better is clear, right? Exposing it to larger and larger data sets is going to make it better and better at simulating this kind of interaction. And that's if it stays unconscious. The question of what happens if this doesn't stay unconscious or this stays unconscious but its descendant picks up consciousness is even more troubling. And
But go to ugly place. Good, bad, ugly. Worst case, what happens? Is it the fear that I actually want you to go there before I tell you what I think is the fear for some people.
Okay. First of all, we don't need ChatGPT to take us to the worst case scenario. We are already losing our capacity to understand the world we live in, to manage the tools that we are creating, to live in harmony with each other. We are losing those things in the present prior to ChatGPT. All of those problems get worse. This is like an accelerant, right? This is like you had a house fire and then you just threw gasoline on it, right? Now we have a raging house fire. So I don't know that this is or isn't the thing, but I do know it's not going to help. At this moment, we can't deal with this. And this is not the last time that's going to happen, by the way, right? We had a world, we had an internet, and then we dumped smartphones into it. And it was like an accelerant. It took the derangement that was arising out of natural algorithmic processes within the internet, and they got vastly worse when people were constantly confronted with their phone and the ability to interact in this way all the time. So we've seen that. We're going to see it again with fusion power. Fusion power, which I believe is the one technology that potentially bootstraps us out of the system we're in and into one that is sustainable. But if you just added it to the system tomorrow, if you read the paper tomorrow and turned out we'd accomplished scalable fusion, it would likely make things worse and not better because we're not ready for the world that it creates. So I don't know what the name of that problem is, but the we're not ready for that problem is a very serious one, and we can swap in one technology after another and, it will create different disasters.
So does ChatGPT scare intellectuals? Is it where intellectuals are sitting there saying, and professors are sitting there saying, if this happens, like in the insurance industry, I'm in the life insurance space, the moment they started doing predictive analytics without needing underwriters and saying, Bret, you don't need to do blood and urine anymore. We don't need to do that anymore. We don't need underwriters anymore. Here's a test we're going to be taking on you. We're going to get your social media score. We're going to get this. We're going to get this. We're going to get this. Based on that, your preferred elite underwriting, you're healthy. You're going to live till 85. Mom lived to 89. Dad lived to this. You're going to be fine, right? We don't need underwriters. Underwriters sat down. They're like, dude, no, you can't stop this. I make $250,000 a year. There's no way I want you to get rid of my job. This is scary, right? But guess what? That's innovation, getting rid of underwriters. Could this model get rid of some educational system that will replace professors, and they're sitting there worried saying, hey, I've been bragging about how smart I am. Now I can't do that anymore. This is not cool.
Yes. And, we have just watched the entire expert class fail a real world test, right? We watched all the universities, every science department. They have all just failed a major test. So, and if you were inside that system and you kept your wits about you, you knew that there was a problem with competence. You knew that a lot of that was fakery and nonsense, right? It looks like science, but it doesn't function like science. If you actually understand the magic that makes science work, you knew it wasn't taking place in these departments, that it wasn't taking place in the major journals. And so on the one hand, it is possible that something like ChatGPT helps us discover the level of incompetence that is putting us in jeopardy, which would be great. But my concern is that it actually arms the next wave of incompetence so that it sounds competent. And so it's harder to detect. And my guess is that latter problem outweighs the benefit of the former.
Well, I mean, you took me to a whole different place. We've already been having that. I mean, we have a president that is giving speeches of people that gave the speech 10 or 20 years prior to him and sounding very presidential and getting caught plagiarizing John F. Kennedy's speech or Ted Kennedy's speech or all these other people's speech. So plagiarism's not going away. People sound very, very intellectual. I think what is going to be interesting is we can right now produce a robot, if we don't already have it, that would be the UFC champion for every weight, okay? We can probably produce a robot. I don't know if you've seen that one robot that shoots three-pointers and how accurate it is. Have you seen that one or no?
Steph Curry of robots?
No, it's not even Steph Curry. It's better than Steph is 43%, 42%. This guy's like just hitting him left and right, okay? Perfect accuracy, and he's shooting the ball. So
LaRobot James?
Le Robot Jordan. Okay, so we're already going in that direction. But do you really want to see robots playing? No. If we can create a robot to go into UFC and fight them, am I really intimidated by that? Probably not. Now, the future of robots that are military, that's a different story. That's concerning. But, intellectuals debating. Like if you were to have a debate with ChatGPT, you're probably going to lose the debate, not in the sense of who's right or who's wrong, who can recite more information and remember and memorize. Well, the ability to memorize as an individual, it was very a valuable skill set 20 years ago. Today, you can just go somewhere and do it. But I think we're still going to want to see hand-to-hand combat with people debating and going at it versus just debating a machine.
Right. And the question is, will you be able to know what you're seeing? So I used to tell students that you are here in this classroom to enhance the capacity of your mind. You are not here to learn things, right? Things are now freely available on the internet. You don't need to go to school to access them. What you need to do here is practice how well your mind functions. And so, today I would beat the pants off ChatGPT because I wouldn't let it come down to volumes of information. On a volumes of information question, then, if ChatGPT 3 can't do it, ChatGPT 4 will. But at the level of the ability to reason, and I'm not arguing that there's no ability because we've actually seen it, right? The fact that this thing can write code and fix code is incredible. And that is a kind of thinking, even if it's not doing it in a way that we recognize as valid cognition. But we do have to worry about what the future is going to look like. And, I already don't think that we know exactly what we see when somebody's giving especially somebody very powerful is giving a speech on television. But we're going to be in a world of confusion once you plug this thing into our mechanisms for sense making.
Yeah, it's going to be, all I know is it's going to be interesting to see what happens next. This thing is not going to be slowing down, by the way. It keeps getting smarter and smarter.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.